Everybody, lawmakers in Congress are now debating on whether all Americans should receive a payment worth up to $8,000 next year. And Pramila Jayapal, a leading House progressive, has now urged Joe Biden to continue focusing on his Build Back Better social spending bill and to use executive actions as a way to work around public rejections of Senator Joe Manchin. And by the way, Senator Joe Manchin is one of the main priorities, is one of the main people holding back our stimulus checks. He voted no on Biden's Build Back Better Act, and that's what's holding our stimulus checks back. Folks, what do you think about President Biden, Joe Manchin, and a lot of the Democrats in Congress? It seems to me that some of them don't want to send out the fourth stimulus checks yet, even though it's definitely necessary. And if you guys agree that President Biden must send out stimulus checks faster, then give this video a like. But right now, the Washington Post said that the Congressional Progressive Caucus said it would soon release a plan for actions, including lowering costs, protecting family health care, and tackling the climate crisis. Jayapal even wrote the Progressive Caucus will continue to work toward legislation for the Build Back Better, and focused on keeping it as close to the agreed upon framework as possible. So that's good news, everybody. 4 stimulus checks will be included in this stimulus bill. But Manchin, Joe Manchin is from West Virginia, and he did already reject the Build Back Better Act last week. And with the Senate split 50-50, a dramatic move seemed to doom the bill. It has also threatened to scuttle hundreds of billions of dollars in funding for measures to meet climate goals, prompted by Goldman Sachs. Now, Joe Manchin has expressed concerns about climate proposals and extensions to monthly child tax credit payments. And when asked about Biden's move and Joe Manchin's move against the Build Back Better Act, well, Kamala Harris told CBS News this. She said the stakes are too high for this to be about any specific individual. Now, folks, good news is this. Chuck Schumer has said the chamber will soon vote on a package very soon. The White House has also had conversations with Joe Manchin, and they will continue to talk about this. Now, Biden even told reporters that he and Joe Manchin are going to get something done. Now, Joe Manchin has said this. Now, Biden has said that before, and hopefully he can keep his word this time and send out the 4th stimulus checks as he promised all Americans. But so far, this has happened. The IRS began the distribution of the 6th round of direct payments for the expanded child tax credit this month, with concerns families around the United States worried if it would be the last batch provided for the American Rescue Plan. And however, there is a potential for some of those parents to receive a payment worth of the $8,000 in 2022, and that's next year. Congress passed the American Rescue Package back in March, and the $1.9 trillion relief package expanded a decades-old child tax credit program to include direct monthly payments for the first time. However, one-year funding was ensured unless Congress is able to pass an extension by December 28th, and that's just tomorrow. The monthly payments will end with December's installment. Should the monthly child tax credit payments come to an end, folks, or should President Biden extend them with executive actions? Tell me in the comments below. Folks, let's not forget about this. For months, Congress has been debating the future of the Biden's Build Back Better plan. And the legislative package includes a 1-year extension of the child tax credit. But regardless of whether that extension materializes into reality, the child tax credit recipients will have a credit to claim when they file their taxes in 2022. Now, since July, the IRS has been sending families monthly checks worth around $300 for children 5 or younger, and for $250 for those ages between 6 and 17. So far, the July-December monthly payments have caused the first 6 months of provisions, but the American Rescue Plan provided a full year of boosted programs. In early 2022, Americans are going to be required to file tax returns for the previous year. Now, this is when you get the chance to claim the remainder of the expanded child tax credit. And guys, the IRS has confirmed that it will send out letters to child tax credit recipients in January. Yes, outlining what remaining credit to have. Now, folks, the letter will advise you on how to ensure that you get the full child tax credit entitlement when you file your taxes. The letter will also advise you guys on how to ensure that you get your full child tax credit entitlement when you file. You should keep the letter and may need to refer to it when filing taxes.
Thank you, Senator Warren, and I want to thank you and Senator Cassidy for getting into these issues. Senator Cassidy just mentioned the modern car. The modern car is a computer on wheels, and I have been investigating now for years as chairman of this committee the sleazy unregulated world of these data brokers. And in several instances, we blew the whistle on government agencies that were too eager consumers for this information, and we pushed Apple and Google to finally get some of the sleaziest data brokers out of their stores and out of their businesses. And I'm glad we're making progress, but we've got a lot more out to do. And I want to start with you, Mr. Sherman. You made an important point with respect to how foreign governments can acquire Americans' data to run disinformation campaigns, identify undercover government personnel, blackmail government employees. And I have been working on legislation for some time now to deal with this threat. The bill will be introduced shortly. My first question to you, Mr. Sherman, is do you agree that Congress should enact legislation to strictly limit the exports of Americans' personal data to high-risk foreign nations and companies to address what is, in my view, a demonstrable national security threat?
There is a huge national security threat here, and Congress does need to control the sale of data to foreign companies, citizens, governments, as you referenced. It's all too easy to get that on the open market.
Very good. Ms. Gray, we've also been looking at this whole issue of how U.S. government agencies bypass the courts by buying Americans' data from data brokers. And so I've introduced bipartisan legislation. The Fourth Amendment is not for sale to close these loopholes. Do you agree that the government's exploitation of these loopholes is a serious problem? And do you agree that Congress ought to close these ever yawning loopholes by passing our legislation?
Absolutely, Senator. The Fourth Amendment is not for sale act is a very strong model. It's exactly what's needed right now.
And tell us, if you would, how this connects with privacy, issues, because I have also introduced another piece of legislation, the Mind Your Own Business, Act. And had that become law, I'm of the view Mr. Zuckerberg would have already faced major sanctions for behavior connected with privacy violations. But how does this whole area connect with privacy? Because on the Finance Committee, we're increasingly looking at privacy, issues. For example, we feel very strongly that wealthy tax cheats, who right now are about as likely to get audited by the government as getting hit by a meteor, we got to do more to root out that corruption. But we can do it in a way